And we're lucky enough to have Travis here from Microsoft. So Travis is an insights data platforms analytics specialist. He's been with Microsoft for 3 years in the role, and looking forward to seeing what he's got. Please, we welcome Travis here.
There we go. And that does turn on. That works well. Yes, no, it's good when technology works. So my name is Travis Sansome. I'm a data and analytics specialist inside of Microsoft. If you don't know, my personal day-to-day inside of Microsoft, there's one of me in New South Wales and there's one of me in Melbourne. I also cover Brisbane as well, so I have some lovely flights up to Brisbane every now and then. I talk to many, many different customers. I map to about 5 different people, and then they map out to different customers. So some of my customers are people like Woolworths, Rio Tinto, Optus is another one who I was visiting out today, and then Macquarie Bank, Commonwealth Bank, then all of them as well. So different industries. Also inside my role, I look after anything data and analytics related inside of Microsoft, which you can imagine is a huge amount of products nowadays. It's really exciting what we're doing inside that space. The only product I don't touch is a thing called Excel, which everyone really likes. So I don't go near Excel, so don't ask me about it. That is the Office team, but I'm happy to talk about it as well. When we talk about nowadays business intelligence discussion, we like to wrap it up to what we're talking from a high level, and that's how businesses are looking to transform today. For Microsoft, when we talk to customers, we see these 4 outcomes in terms of when CEOs are talking and when people are talking. So one is, how do you engage your customers deeper? And that's how can we make it more interactive and how can we make it more engaging? The second one is, how can we empower employees? We need to empower employees to be able to create change within the business and be able to do that flexible. The other one is optimizing operations. And then last one is this mission to transform. If you speak to every company nowadays, you'll probably find that they have a mission to transform inside one of the key initiatives within the business for this financial year. For Microsoft, we look at doing that in 3 separate ways. One is creating a more personal computing environment. If you look at anything like Windows 10 recently, you'll see we have things like you can stand in front of it and it logs in when you put your face on it. It's cool. The nice thing with that is you go straight in. It's easy to log in. Reinventing productivity in business processes. So how can we make it easier for you to do things like work from home and work from home in a secure way? The last one is building the intelligent cloud platform, which is where business intelligence sits for us. It's where a lot of our analytics initiatives sit as well. The first thing I wanted to just talk about just very quickly. So who's heard of something called Azure from Microsoft? Hands up? Yeah. Okay. So Azure is Microsoft's cloud platform. That's where we host a lot of our services. I'm going to talk about one service today in terms of business intelligence called PowerBI. That's where PowerBI is hosted as well. If you wanted to know in terms of Azure, we have 34 different regions across the world in terms of coverage. We like to point out that for our competitors, that's more than AWS and Google combined. If you're not used to AWS, that's Amazon Web Services. So they're the 2 other providers. The other thing we like to point out as well, that if you look at something called, do people know who Gartner is in the room? Yes, I got some heads nodding. Gartner do some of the, basically do unbiased analysis of all of the different vendors. We like to point out that they have these things called Magic Quadrants for Microsoft. Microsoft is in 17 of those quadrants in terms of leaders, compared to the other ones where we've got Salesforce is sitting at 6, Google's sitting at 1, and AWS is sitting at 3. The other thing is in terms of financial services, where we're actually seeing the trends in terms of where investment is happening. And we're not talking just from business intelligence, we're also talking about the analytics area. So the biggest area we're seeing is in the space of personalization. And that's where you'll see some efforts going into things like bots and artificial intelligence. And how can they drive kind of personalization experiences to you that you'd never expect. The one on the lowest you'll see there is fraud detection. So absolutely being looked at, but not as high as personalization. And then also customer churn and compliance. So have a think about how that relates to your business and where your roadmap is going. But for the core part of today's discussion, where we're going to be talking about is how we go from intelligence to action for every single one inside the organization and for customers. This journey kind of straps into 4 different areas, and you'll see businesses are at different levels of maturity today. And I challenge yourself to think, where are we at today? A lot of people who I'll talk to are kind of sitting in this left-hand part here, which is this what happened. We've got lots of really nice reporting that go on the business, and they tell us what happened. The next one you'll see is that analysts usually start to ask, why did it happen? Which is nice. The tricky part with the why did it happen is seeing how long it'll take that analyst to find out why did it happen. The next part that people are looking in is what will happen. So leading into the predictive space. And then lastly is the what should I do? So that's giving the prescriptive. So currently we're in discussions, and we've definitely here. If you want to think about what should I do, we have things like the banks looking at how they can take some of their advisory roles and put that into chatbots that you can talk to actually give you advice on the fly based on your actual, say, shares portfolio or something like that. But really, all of this discussion for Microsoft begins with a technology we call Power BI. Power BI is Microsoft's cloud-hosted visualization service. It's been around for about 2 years now, and it's seen its various iterations. We're now going to swap across to a demo, so you actually are going to see it live, so you can know it is real. And I'm just going to switch it across to that screen so you can see it. I'm going to duplicate it. Okay, so PowerBI.com, like I said, is the cloud-hosted visualization service. And I should say, actually, whilst we will be asking for questions at the end, so hold them tight for now. Hopefully I do answer it whilst I'm going through. So it's our cloud-hosted visualization service. The nice thing with Power BI is there's 2 types of licenses, I'll call them. There's a free one and there's a pro one. So if you want to go home and start playing, you can go home and start playing today, right after this presentation. Really entice you to. The other nice thing with Power BI is at the moment we have monthly updates to our desktop tool. So you get new features every month. And then we have the service can be updated up to every week. So you get new features every week. They're not breaking features, so we don't break anything that you've written and made look really amazing. They're just new features for you to grab onto. So this is Power BI. You'll see with Power BI we have 3 main concepts. One is a dashboard, one is a report, and one is a data set which sits underneath. A dashboard is made up of multiple reports which sit underneath. Each one of these tiles here has been pinned from a different artifact or element. They can be pinned from things like reports and elements or reports which sit underneath. They can also be pinned from various places as well. So your report may be written in Power BI. It might also be written in Excel as well. So you can pin stuff from Excel to dashboards as well, which users do like to do. And then you can also put things like, you put videos on there if you want to put videos, and you can also stream real-time data to your dashboards. So we do have some interesting initiatives within businesses who are looking at how can we take the BI a step further and actually give a real-time streaming approach to your business intelligence. I like to point out the example of how I worked with the casino to basically show them how they could do in about a day. Let them ask a Power BI dashboard, what is the average bet for blackjack in the past 5 minutes on the floor and who was it? and they were able to do that. And then that was all real-time streamed to a dashboard. So some really phenomenal things you can do. So like I said, they're all pinned to the front. We have lots of different visualization choices, and that's not really the point. The ones that are interesting, if you think which ones stand out to most people, it's these ones down the bottom. So a fish one and this NASDAQ scroller. Why do they stand out? I don't know. One's colorful and one's pretty. They are both those are both custom visualizations which were submitted by our community. So we have about 40 different visualizations that people in the community have written for you to freely use. And one of them was this really creative fish visualization. Now, when I go ahead and click on a tile, what you'll see is now I'm drilling through to the gross sales report. And this is our revenue and profitability report. The nice thing here is you can see on the left-hand side the variance to budget, but you can also see the variance to budget by the country. And we can see that USA is out ahead, and we see that France isn't doing too well. If you go ahead and click one of them, you'll notice that the whole page changes. We have a couple of different ones you'll see. So you'll see things like for this one, it's telling you that the variance to budget for online is actually below the line there. And what we're actually doing is highlighting there, versus what you see here is a water flow chart in terms of that variance to budget dollar for the loyalty, non-loyalty, and total. We have other ones like scatter charts as well. And if I was to show you this, I can show you that I can pop them out. And I might say, well, okay, that was that. And I can see the gross sales budget and the gross sales profit. I can, of course, edit the report as well. So if I go ahead and edit, this is what the editing experience looks like. The thing we like to point out is that all the editing is done in the browser. So if you think about agility when you're in the workforce, when somebody shares something to you, you can edit it in the browser and keep going. There's no need to download anything to your desktop. So that's why it works nicely with things like iPads. It works nicely with things like Chromebooks as well, if you want to use them. It's a convenient segue too as well. We do also have apps across all of the different mobile devices. So iOS, Android, Windows as well. The nice thing with the apps though, they're unique because what we have is we have a mechanism called data-driven alerts. So you can imagine if you have a tile and you're looking to see when does the variance to budget actually go over a certain number, you can set an alert and then it'll notify you on your device. It also notifies you in the notification center on PowerBI, but that's how you can create some really data-driven insights. So going back to that example with the casino, you can imagine the next step that they set up was they set up an alert. So they said, when a customer goes above this threshold in terms of the bet they make on the table, send us an alert so we can send someone over to go talk to them. And then that's what they did with Power BI, all nice and simple for them to do. So that's it. So we can click and we can interact with it. You know, so we have a raft of different formatting options. Not going to drill into that. We also have creative things like I can go into this one, I can pop it out, and what you'll see is I can go ahead and drag what we call a play axis into it. And if I go here and put that in, oh, not that one, we won't do that one. It'll play it over time for you. And then that's all of the dashboarding and reporting space. The other thing I like to point out as well, QR codes are back in fashion. So you can generate QR codes for your report and dashboard. Now, that might look a bit silly. Why do I have people who do that? Because I have analysts who run around companies, print that off, put that in the workspace, and then everyone can scan that and have the report instantly pop up on their mobile. It's a way of it becoming infectious and having it viral go across the company, but it's also a way that we're seeing people look at things like in the manufacturing industry where they've got scanning manufacturing parts and then having a dashboard which is exactly on that part just pop up for them. And have a think. For you, it could be that if it's a customer that it pops up as well. So that's the reporting and dashboarding aspect of Power BI. that's probably not where we differentiate from most of the other players you'll see in the market. I like to say that there's only so many ways you can color a report. There's only so many ways you can probably visualize data as well. So I can only segment your customers so many ways, and I can only show you that segment probably so many ways as well. So how can we drive a bit of a different experience? One for Power BI is a thing called Q&A. So it stands for question and answer. When you think about that variance to budget that I have before, it would be nice if you could just type B to B. And then it gives you back what that variance to budget actually is that it found. The other thing is as well, if I type variance to budget by the country, you'll see that what it's going to do is it's going to bring back that bar chart for that variance to budget by the country. And we can see, like before, we can see Australia in terms of percentage is out ahead. You can also see what it's chosen on the right-hand side. And you might say that, well, I want to go down here and I want to actually color it by the legend as well. So it's really flexible and up to you. This is what we call asking questions and getting answers. If you think about your data that you view today and you think about when reports are being built and when you're doing BI, going back to what is the question that you're actually asking and that's driving the business. Because most of the time when you speak to a lot of people, you say, what are the questions behind this report? And it'll take about 5 minutes to get those questions out when it should be off the top of their head, just like this. So that's Q&A. The other thing we like to point out as well is that we had a lovely group of analysts the other day who dived into Q&A, and they basically said, so if we talk to the business and we get say the top 50 questions from the business, and we build one model that the whole business could consume to answer all of their data intelligence BI-related questions, could they just ask them in Q&A and have the answers come back? And the answer is yes. The nice byproduct of that is they said we don't have to build reports anymore. Yay. They also said we're out of a job. And I said, no, we're just going to move you on to doing something else besides report creation. So we've got lots of other exciting stuff as well for them. So that's Q&A. The other thing as well, so that's Q&A that we're working on. Another one is how can you drive insights faster as well? So the other one we've got is something called quick insights, and it's how you actually derive insights very, very fast. I'll show you this one. Now, this one isn't financial services. You should get an idea of it. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and just say with quick insights, what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and run a bunch of different algorithms to try and work out some insights. And it's going to take about a minute to do that. The insights that we're looking for are things like anomaly, outline analysis, trend analysis, and all of that. So if you see this one that's come out, things that no, so this was over a murder one, so it's a bit grim for Monday morning. But you'll see here, so noticeably, the attempted murder there has noticeably more year-over-year offences. And it's been able to pick that out just from your data set which you've uploaded. The other ones are, you'll see here, going more detailed. Manslaughter and murder accessory has noticeably more year-over-year offences for the year 2011. So going very low at that point. You'll notice another thing, number of offences for category of criminal intent is trending upwards. And here's one I like to pick on. So Murrumbidgee has a relatively steady percentage of total number of offences for the category of offensive language. If that's, I'm very sorry to anybody who's from Murrumbidgee or who has somebody from Murrumbidgee. Do they know? The next thing is, though, you can imagine once you've got that insight, the power is actually being able to drive more insight from this one we've found before. And you can do that by going up here and saying get insights. when you do get insights, we know that you like looking at number of offenses by the year and the region. And you'll notice what it's pulled out with. So now it's pulled out with that Wagga Wagga has noticeably more number of offenses of offensive language and the region for Murrumbidgee.
Hey, crazy.
Able to go actually now into the suburb.
So you updated that
actually stick out.
sheet for September 1, didn't you?
The power of that is
Could you email it to me, please?
That works if you just take an Excel document and upload an Excel document and just have a standard sheet. It'll pull out insights for you on the fly. Through to it works with your enterprise-grade data warehouse as well. It doesn't matter what the data source is. It's agnostic for Power BI. It's the way we show customers how we can show things like for the weeks of 2016, these are significantly ahead in terms of profit for the customers and actually pull out the customers specifically. It's also how we pull out anomalies for days as well. And they'll say, for this day, we saw a spike in this metric that you were tracking as well. So this is a feature we call Quick Insights. The other part is as well, usually I get asked at this point, or a little bit earlier than this point, how data actually comes into Power BI. So if you go down, one reasons why everyone loves Power BI is because of this, down the bottom left-hand corner, this Get Data button. A call out to how many people have used Excel and tried to find the Get Data in Excel. When you go across to here, you'll see we have two ways. We have a content pack library and import. The content library is actually where it's getting the most exciting though. So once this loads up, what you'll see is actually a bunch of different services who we're working with to bring content to Power BI. The nice thing for you is that if you are working with any of these service providers today, you can create a dashboard in about 5 minutes with all of your data inside of it. And it's also a dashboard which you can personalize in the end as well. It's how I sit with people. They sign up to Power BI in about a minute. They use one of these content packs, and in the first 5 minutes, they've got a full-blown dashboard with all of your data that you would expect. So the messaging there is, after this, if you're using any of them, go back, try it, try importing. So if I scroll through, you'll see things like Adobe Analytics, Bing as well, Google Analytics, MailChimp, Mandrill, Marketo is another one that a lot of people are using. Dynamics as well, which is our one. And then you'll see Salesforce as well there. SendGrid, SuiteIQ, Twilio, Tygraph, a lot of different ones. We add about 1 to 2 every week. So have a look, and actually 1 to 2 every month, sorry, not every week. That would be a bit too fast. So 1 to 2 every month. The other thing is as well, you can imagine that these content packs, you can also build yourself inside your own organization. So you can imagine if you build a dashboard that's built with all of your different metrics, that you want to share that to somebody else, and you want it to be in a way that they can readily consume it just like that. We have something called the organizational catalog, which is exactly this, but it's for your own organization. So you can package up your content and then share that to each other as well.
I'm listening.
And that's how data gets into Power BI. With that, the other parts as well, so I will quickly point out that, so we do also support, if you think about how you keep your data up to date, we do also support doing things like scheduled refreshes to data sources. Another one with Power BI that we like to point out is that it doesn't just have to be a Microsoft data source, so we're data source agnostic. The next thing I wanted to show you just quickly how easy it is to put a report together just very quickly. So we have another tool called Power BI Desktop. It's the companion tool to PowerBI.com. It's how you build reports and publish up to there. If I show you here, you notice there's a Get Data button. If I go here, Excel quickly, go across to here, I'll go into an Excel file that I've got. And what's going to happen is it's going to bring up the contents of that Excel document. At first, it shows me a preview on the right-hand side of what I'm bringing in. Only 100 rows, because nothing's more annoying than doing that import and then figuring out that the data's wrong. When you go load after this, what it does is it loads it into the data model, which sits behind. And then from now, it's as easy as going store name and going sales amount, and then changing it to a bar chart, and then changing its order by as well. And that's how easy it is to build visualizations in Power BI. So if you say to me, I can't build them, you don't have an excuse. That's the message there. If you want to know formatting, formatting's there as well. So we get asked, how do we do coloring? It's all there. The other one as well, we have analysis as well. So that's all that. Once that is done, you go ahead and publish that to powerbi.com, and then that becomes available for everyone else to actually use. It's not smoke and mirrors. It does exist. It does work. It is there. Go use it today. The other part about it I didn't tell you, so Power BI currently for PowerBI.com, we have more than 7 million subscribers to the service. So it's being used by a lot of different people. Microsoft itself is probably one of the biggest users of. So we just reached our milestone, and they told us that we have more Power BI desktop users inside of Microsoft Australia, inside of Microsoft than Excel users, which is kind of unheard for most businesses. So you can imagine that's how we're streamlining a lot of the content we get. If you talk to a lot of people who are internal and say to them, how did you get reports before? It was very much find the person who knew about the report, ask them for access, and then get access to the report. And then you hope that they email it to you every week. If that doesn't sound familiar, that's how we had it. It's very different now. It's very much go get data, go into the organization catalog, look up your content pack, bring it in, and then it's all up to date because someone set it up for you. The best part about it for us is as well is we have a lot of people inside Microsoft, a lot of people who are building out analytics. Amazingly, when they build out content, the dashboard may not be perfect for you. It may not be what you're expecting to see. So we love to personalize them as well. And you'll see everyone has their own personalized version of the dashboard, but the data is absolutely the single source of truth, and it's always up to date. But if you want it as a fish, that's okay, because you should be able to have it as a fish. If anyone wants to know the fish, it's the size of the fish was the variance to budget, and then each fish, I think, was the country. So that's that. So that's all of Power BI, and I'm sure if you ask some more questions at the end, I'll remember some things I haven't spoken about. The other one we like to, that I'll just mention as well, we do support security across all of your different data sets. So you can imagine in the financial services space, that's a big one. A lot of the banks are very aggressive in terms of how can we look at security and how can we enforce security across our different data sets. We do support a thing called role-level security across your data sets within the service. For the meaning of time, I'm not going to drill into that. That's how, if you imagine you have a report and you look at a report, how we can say, if we're looking at this report, how does this manager can only see their list of customers inside of this report, is one example. So that's all of that. So like I said, so Power BI, so it's moving at full speed. So we add every month 40 new features, around 40 new features to that Power BI desktop. And all of that. So quick insights, Q&A, mobile support for data-driven. That's where we all like to be. With that, so what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to swap across to the presentation just quickly. And go back. So that was the demo. In terms of where we're talking with customers, I said Power BI is really the start of the business intelligence journey for our customers who have become mature in Power BI. especially the ones who are starting off in it, are starting to look into deeper analytics spaces to where they can go. So if you think about on the left-hand side, that personalization experience, how can we look at things like next best action, which amazingly a lot of the banks already do today. They do that a lot already, but if you ask them how they do it, it's not very cost effective at the moment. Also, their time to market with any of the solutions in that space is very long nowadays. They're looking to shorten that very aggressively in order to compete. If you'll see here, seasonal personal impact, trading analytics. So how can we do analytics? In terms of fraud detection, that's another area for financial services. It's another area, again, which has been done for a long time, but again, how can we drive it cost effective? Also, with the amount of data that exists today, how can they scale out to actually handle all of them? Things like remote shutdowns, robo-advisory, customer churn prevention, something like churn scoring, and another thing like call center monitoring as well, which people are looking at. So next time you make a call to you go through to a call center, you can think about how we're talking to them about how we take some of our what we call sentiment analysis endpoints and actually look about what you're talking about through your voice on the phone to help the representative on the other end actually tailor the experience for you as you talk on the phone to them. That's the kind of BI and intelligence that we're looking to drive because it's truly the transformational aspect. And then you'll see there, so on the right-hand side, risk reduction and compliance. So compliance, data entry, intervention, as well as another one. So how can we make sure that the data being entered is trusted and it's what we expect? The last areas that I wanted to speak about were just around some different areas. So there's this slide. Inside of Microsoft, our CEO is Satya Nadella. If you've listened to him before, he has a great line where he says, Microsoft, we work in an industry which only respects, which doesn't respect tradition, it only respects innovation. We wouldn't be today where we are without the strides we've made in innovation and the research initiatives we have. The other thing to notice as well, if you look at the recent achievements that have been made in terms of the BI space and the technology space, you'll see that they're largely visible. If you think things like phones, tablets, and watches, that is very much what you hear from an achievements and breakthrough nowadays for technology. The thing, though, that we believe is that tomorrow's breakthroughs will be invisible. We think that the investment is largely on where the areas that are invisible. Some couple of points are when computing moves to the cloud, it disappears, yet it becomes more powerful. I still have trouble going home and talking to my mum and explaining what the cloud is to her. But to her, it doesn't even matter. She's got this thing called OneDrive. It uploads files and that's it. For her, it could be her iCloud or an iPad. She just knows the iCloud does something for her and it's good for her. But she doesn't care. The other one is as well, when user interfaces become integrated with our own environment and natural controls like voice, gaze, and gesture become normal, we don't even see the computers. You don't even think about what's behind it. It's just a complete natural experience. For us, it's things like at home, I have my Xbox, which I say Xbox onto. It turns on the TV, the speakers, absolutely everything for me, goes to the channel that I'd expect straight away off the bat and has that personalized experience as I sign into it. I can launch something like Netflix just by me saying go to Netflix and having it launch up. That's one. If you think about the other one, when machine learning is at its best, we see the results, not the effort. So when it's at its best, we see the results, not the effort. We speak to different industries. We show them things like we had a great one in the manufacturing one the other day, where we showed them for predictive maintenance, we could get an accuracy of 98% in terms of predicting that a machine part was going to fall over. We did that in a week for them. They got a quote to have that project, that it was going to be a multi-million-dollar project, and it was going to take a couple of years. So really things are changing in terms of what you can do. The last part is when computing anticipates our needs, we don't even notice it. So when computing anticipates our needs, we don't even notice it. And that's really the nirvana. I love to point out that kind of when I had somebody point out the other day that the technology advancements that are probably the most interesting are the ones that you don't hear people talking about. They're the ones where an announcement is made and you kind of go, oh, that makes sense that they do that. And then it becomes that thing that you use every day. But that's all of that. We believe that we're on the cusp of a major technological shift for Microsoft in terms of how we will experience in our lives. If you think for Microsoft, we're looking at things like, if you haven't seen it, we have a lovely piece of equipment called HoloLens, which allows you to beam holograms into your environment. We're showing demonstrations of how we can actually take somebody who's in another meeting room and actually beam them live into your space as a hologram and have actually what we call a holoportation experience. So new stuff that's coming out. We want to see where we can take it in terms of BI and intelligence. We've had some people stretch out to us and say, can we have our pie chart as a hologram? We're looking to go a bit further than that inside of Microsoft. But that experience will be brought out. The last thing I wanted to leave you with is a video in terms of the next generation, in terms of where we're seeing BI and intelligence going. Something we brought out about a couple of months ago was something called the bot framework, which allows you to bring bots out. It works on the basis of something we called Cortana as well. Who's heard of Cortana before? Well, everyone's doing really well. Okay, so for people who don't know, Cortana is Microsoft's equivalent to Siri. We like Cortana in my team because you can go to Cortana and say to it something like, give me the sales forecast for the next 12 months, and then it'll talk to Power BI and pull out the report, which explains that to you. And then that becomes accessible on every device because it's through Cortana as well. The nice thing is we will eventually be bringing bots to Cortana as well. So we like to call this part conversation as a platform. And then if I get the video to work.
Cortana, I want to dress like this. Can you help me find it? I like this one. Yes, please. Can I get it in a size 6? Cool. Cortana, please give them my payment and shipping info.
So with that, I would like to say that the message of today is don't think small, think big is one of the ones I like to say. With Power BI, if you want to get started today, go ahead to powerbi.com. It's as simple as going sign in, and then you'll sign in and be taken through to Power BI. What we do is if you are what we call an O365 customer, we actually transparently do it for you all behind. And we attach your Power BI, we give you a free license on powerbi.com, and we notify IT that that's happened as well. So it's been defined so that a business user can start up on it. The other area as well is if you want to learn more, there's a guided learning section for Power BI. You'll see here in the guided learning section, they're broken out into topics. Each topic is timed, and there's YouTube videos on how to do everything as well. This is how I go out to presentations to customers, and it's amazing to see because I'll walk into the room to do the Power BI demo, and then I'll have one of their users who's got about 5 dashboards already built. I'll ask them how long did it take them to, and they say, well, I went on your site 2 days ago, and I thought I'd just play with it, and they build out a dashboard, and then they go, oh, look at this, and they tell them, can you do the presentation? And then they go, no, because they're too shy. But that's that. So you can get started with guided learning and actually get started with it today. The other thing we like to point out at the top is that for the we have a thing called a partner showcase, and we also have something called solution templates as well. So Power BI Partner Showcase is where you can see some interesting work that's being done, and solution templates is where you can get started with doing different work. The solution templates look like this. You can just go install now to connect to them. This is one of our new ones, which is campaign brand management for Twitter. So if you have a marketing department and they're looking at Twitter, this is usually the one to show them. You can go here, say view, and then it'll bring up actually a preview of what the solution template will look like for you when you bring it in. This is the one, like I said, the Twitter one. You'll see here that it's quite detailed. It was done with Microsoft Research in mind. The complicated one I like to point out is the big network graph that sits on page 3 from memory. Let's see 2. So you can see, so those are ways you can quickly get started today. So have a look at solution templates, look at the partner showcase, get started with the guided learning. That's Power BI, that's up, sign in. Let me know if you have any questions now. That's 8:30, so I think we're just on the dot. So we might swap across to Q&A now. Any questions from anyone? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's gonna depend on which user who's connecting to this service. We have a lot of people who use Excel because Excel is a loved and beloved tool. We have other people who connect to their database as well if they have a database to connect to. We also have other ones like people connecting to a thing we call data catalog for us as well. So data catalog is a means to how you can take your data across the organization and actually tag it so it's relevant for each user and that they can find it as well. And then once it's there, we have, you publish it to powerbi.com, and then we have a thing called a gateway, which allows you to do refreshes. If it's on-premise, if it's in the cloud, it's a data source in the cloud, we can naturally broker it ourselves. So you don't need to install anything to connect to your on-premise. Yeah. So that got a bit technical for the answer. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you do in Excel's behalf for Excel. So we have another mode, which is what a lot of enterprises look at, where they'll look at using what we call live connect to whatever the source is. So they'll use a live connect to the database, and then when you can imagine every time a user hits that report and refreshes it, it's always going to be up to date compared to the data source. So you have multiple different options in terms of how you want to do it. For some people, the scheduled refresh does actually make sense over the live import, the live connection. Any other questions? Yeah, we can. So you'll look at the different open data mechanisms like Socrata and all of them. We can definitely go to their endpoints and pull down the data, and we have a lot of people who do that today. So. Yeah, so you'd pull it in yourself. Obviously, we don't host that data ourselves. That's just one thing to be clear. So we do actually have what we call a data marketplace, but it is separate to Power BI. So, and that's designed because we want it to be open to all of the different services we have. So not only Power BI. No, so the data marketplace is a place for people to publish data sets to the marketplace and then sell them to people or give them out or give them for free to different people. And we're just the platform that we host that mechanism for them. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, you can go ahead and enjoy your day. Hopefully no fires at work today.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right, thanks for coming along today. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to grab one of us from the back. Also, Victoria will be sending out an email and SMS to everybody here just with a couple of follow-ups with some links, including to Power BI, where you can jump on and start playing straight away. So some really cool stuff there. So if you're currently using a CRM in-house and an accounting package and Excel, it's just pretty simple. Within 5 minutes, you can drag all those data sets into one dashboard and start interrogating. So we're running some further sessions as well, one-on-one. So anyone would like to have a focus group, particularly on your business, we'll come out there and spend an hour with you guys to go through and see how we can start tying in those data sets like your CRM, your Excel, your financial, whatever else you have running in your business. So feel free to get in touch. Thanks for coming along.